a chakra scan for Messenger. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start out with all the items that I pulled intuitively. A lot of times it's just crystals, but I have a few statues here, more than I ever normally pull. Okay, so I have my purple fluorite here and my smoky quartz. So both of these are really good for psychic defense, as well as this, the purple quartz especially is good when it comes to your third eye, psychic development, but both of these are really good specifically for psychic protection. And then I have my sodalite here, which can also be good for that actually. And, whoa, it's jumping around. And, or maybe I'm just dropping it. And, but crystals kind of have a mind of their own. But, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's good for psychic defense. It's also good for developing your intuition. And then also it specifically has to do with the throat chakra, which I think might come up during this reading, because there's something with the throat chakra that I have been picking up on a little bit, but I don't know what it is yet. And here's my fuchsite here. This is a really good healing stone. It's also good for gathering psychic information. It can be past life information. A lot of times it does have to do with some kind of healing. The person has some kind of emotional wound, or it can be physical, and you gather information about it, and that's really how it helps with the healing aspect. It kind of helps you know what the problem is, what you can do about it, type of thing. So it's good for gathering information. So I have my dragon here, / lion, but it's my dragon. And Thoth, the Birdman, and then I have Sobek, the crocodile deity. So, couple kind of dragon things going on here with Sobek as well. And obviously some Egyptian stuff going on too. Okay. So I still have your origin question over here, since originally this was going to be origin, and well, you know what happened with that. So, okay, all right. So the shoulders. I'm going to start with the shoulders, because with the chakra scans, I never end up starting. Like, sometimes I do, but I don't always end up starting at the head necessarily. Like, normally when I surround the person in protective energies, I just start at the head. But when I do the chakra scan, it's just kind of wherever I'm intuitively drawn at first. Okay. So I had already mentioned to you that there was the block coming up that was kind of blocking the reading, and that was in the solar plexus. And okay, sorry, not the solar plexus, the sacral. Well, the thing about the sacral is it has a lot of emotional energies. It tends to do with emotions quite a bit, and also your back as well, because it was specifically in the back of the sacral chakra where I was really picking up on it. And your back has to do with your support. And so a lot of people, they only think of the sacral chakra as like a sexual chakra. It's a lot more than a sexual chakra. It's a very creative chakra. But this can also be creativity in general. It's also really a power center. And also there's a lot of creativity as far as your emotions as well. So a lot of artistic people would have a lot of sacral energies in their aura. Um, but the thing about the shoulders is that they're very connected to ancestry, family, and then the sacral, like I was saying, there's a lot of emotions there, but also when it comes to your back specifically, the back has to do with your support. And so a lot of times if someone is not feeling supported, in some way they can have issues at the back. Whether it ends up being back pain or it's just at first it can just simply be in the energy field and it hasn't really manifested as something physical quite yet. But the back has to do with your support. And with you, I keep feeling family over and over. And so it's interesting that they're having me right away start with the shoulders. And like I said, shoulders really have to do with ancestry. It can have to do with parents. It can even have to do with siblings and stuff, especially if they're older. But a lot of times it comes from someone before you, and we can end up with a lot of cords, issues, things here in the shoulders that pertain to that. But you have some cords going on here. I was seeing a lot of cords at the sacral. But what's interesting is as soon as I come to the shoulders, there's actually cords from the shoulders going into your back, going into the sacral. So this is definitely something with family going on right away. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna continue with my smoky quartz here. Okay, and then coming into the throat. These cords are coming into the throat. Okay, and the throat. Sometimes when somebody has an issue with the sacral, they're going to have an issue with the throat. For the reason that the throat is also a creative center, and the throat has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with your intuition. It has a lot to do with your definition of yourself. And the sacral, they're very similar. The sacral has to do a lot with creativity. It has a lot to do with emotions, and so therefore it can obviously have to do with your intuition. But also, it is a very it's a little bit similar to the solar plexus when it comes to it's like a power center. And so a lot of your views of self do come from your sacral chakra, but then also with the throat chakra, the way that you define yourself, your throat chakra definitely shows a lot of that as well. And wow, I'm having so much trouble talking. Your throat chakra has a lot to do with your ability to communicate, those definitions that you have. So you have like this this self-image, and it can be false, it can be real, but it's your throat that really enables you to speak out and to communicate that. So you have got a lot of family stuff going on. You have a lot of family issues going on. I feel some stuff with friends too, or like people that you attract. You end up sometimes attracting people out of this energy, but there's also a feeling of, or you could. Okay, so some of this feels more futuristic, like this could get worse in the future, and you are kind of young. It feels like this could get worse in the future, but obviously we don't want it to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my sodalite here since the throat is really coming up. And you have this name, Messenger, that your guides were giving as the code name, and yet you have this block in your throat. So there's this feeling like you have a message to give, you have a message to bring, and there's a feeling that that is blocked somehow. I also see writing. Oh, wow. And yeah, and Thoth here, Thoth is the writer. So he's the scribe. And he came up with the alphabet according to the Egyptian mythology and all of that. But I do see you writing, and I almost see that as a way of helping you to like break through this block. Even if you can't communicate physically, like speaking wise, you can at least in your own space and time be writing. You know, you can be journaling, you can have a blog, you know, and it doesn't have to be a blog. You should at least be journaling, it feels like. Even if you did have a blog, I don't feel like it would be some really public blog. I feel like this is more about you jotting your thoughts down in more of a personal setting and getting more clear on what those thoughts are. There's also a feeling of you kind of writing down your dreams and aspirations and your goals, and that's something that you need to do. And there's a feeling of not really letting anybody else see that necessarily, unless you really trust someone and they're going to be encouraging. But I feel like you're kind of breaking out of something. Um, you're breaking out of patterns that people before you have had, and they've done things in certain ways, and you're not going to be like them. You're not going to continue that life course or those patterns for yourself. And that's part of the way that you are a messenger. That's part of the reason that you're a messenger. Part of your message is that you really don't have to be like anyone else. You can shine and you can be who you are. And there's this word coming in, this phrase, I mean, comfort zone coming in, but it doesn't feel like a negative thing. It feels like a bad, it doesn't feel like a negative thing. It feels like a good thing. It feels like almost being who you are should be a comfort zone. This should be something that makes you feel comfortable. It's you being unique and you possess this creative voice. Now these cords are kind of running through your stomach as well. This is this family stuff, okay? And this is just specifically family. I don't feel like it's one person. Otherwise, it would be like, oh, the mother, you know, that might come up. And I'd be telling you, you need to break cords to your mother. Or you have this uncle, break cords with this person or a couple people or whatever. It doesn't really feel like that. It also even feels like ancestors, like ancestors. Like there are patterns that have been kind of going down like generationally, um, and you kind of came into this family to help break those, not so much for them because you know other people on the outside of you, it's not like you can decide for them. They can choose it for themselves if they want to when they see you doing it, but they don't have to. So it's more like the message is, this is who I am, and it's unique to you, and you're going to put it out, but not really for them, even though I do feel like in the long run it helps them, it helps anyone to see that, but it's not for them. And your guides are showing me like this golden necklace. So it looks like a choker, but it's gold, and then it has this it's like a diamond shape, still with the gold wire. It's like gold wire making this diamond shape, but then on the inside of the gold wire there's this it's like this light blue crystal. And specifically, it's uncut. Specifically, it's uncut. It's not polished or anything. It's uncut. And it's in this gold. So I feel like it's really important that you get this clear. Okay, and that does mean clearing this sacral. There's a feeling like these the roots of this stuff, it goes to the sacral. That's really where the roots of all this stuff is. Sometimes it can be easier to break it like higher, like the shoulders, the throat, and you keep kind of pulling it out, breaking it away until you get down to where the roots actually are. Sometimes if you try and pull it by the roots, that it's like that's where it's strongest, right? That's its base. Like if you're gonna chop down a tree, which we don't want to do, obviously, but if you were going to, you're not gonna, go under and try to like lift up the roots to chop it. It's not going to work because that's where its strength is. That's what's holding it in there. And it's really deep. You would have to really dig to get that out. Okay, different crystal. Okay, I'm going to go back to my purple fluorite here again. Okay, so there's a feeling right away, it's coming to your eyes, and there's a feeling right away that this also blocks some of your abilities as well. And by this, they're meaning psychic abilities. Because this is patterns and perceptions that a lot of people in your family have carried, and so that can kind of fog things. To always see from that reality, and it isn't like the true reality that they're carrying in their vibration. Not when it comes to these patterns, not when it comes to patterns and cycles that they have, not when it comes to these thought forms that have passed down to them. And you're really destined to speak differently, to think differently, to just everything differently. But that also means having like a different mindset. So as you are getting rid of this stuff and breaking this stuff, you're definitely, you're going to come more into your gifts. But a lot of this has to do with your perception, okay? Being able to perceive into things more clearly. And some of this might just come as like realizations, like even the way that you view Earth, or, it could be the way that you're seeing the world, politically, or just in any way, right? The way that you're viewing humanity, concepts, so in other words, all of it doesn't have to seem psychic. Because some of it feels like it even has to do with your ideas or your beliefs or worldviews, things like that. I feel like too, this stuff can kind of prevent you from knowing what your origin is. Okay, because when you have all this family stuff and all these blocks specifically to that, it can kind of get you kind of grounded in a negative way with this family here, and I mean like in an energetic way because of all these cords and things. And so I think that that was really the issue when it came to the origin. I think that that's why there was an issue, and the guys were like, okay, no, this is what we need to address first. That's not going to come up now. I really think that it had to do with that. There is definitely there's definitely some energy from the Pleiades going on here. And this is the first that I felt anything like that during the whole reading or the code name or the emails or anything. I wasn't picking up on anything like that from your guides. They just weren't um, giving any of that up. But like I said, sometimes once they address the thing that they really want to talk about, then they'll speak a little more about origins. But this doesn't necessarily feel like an origin. But you've definitely had lives there for sure. And I'm also seeing you. I see you in this with this skin that looks like a very like light blue color. But that doesn't feel Pleiadian. This feels like something else, like maybe Andromedan even. There's a feeling of Andromeda as well. And there's a feeling of a guide around you from Andromeda specifically, but there's also a feeling of somebody Pleiadian being around you specifically. Okay, but then there's this thing kind of behind you. I was seeing that at the beginning, but that's just some kind of thought form. It's not really a guide. But there is a thought form that's connected to this mass of chords that's going on. So I would get with your guides and talk to them about clearing that specifically as well, because this thought form behind you is kind of holding on to these chords, and that can make it, if you're not going after the thought form also, then it would be harder to get rid of this stuff. But there isn't something specific that they're really giving me about this thought form, like some specific concept or something. It just really feels like family. I feel almost like you don't have to really bother with the concept. Just know that it comes from family, and when you get rid of it, when you remove it, there are going to be changes and things. Also, there's a feeling of like, what can you do differently? Like, even when it comes to like holidays or just even the spiritual practices that you're doing, I'm sure that's different from what family is doing. But even just the way that they live their lives, the way that they eat their food, whatever it is, it just feels like be as different as possible in like every little way that you can think of. As kind of silly as that sounds, that's something that's coming in. Because your guides are saying, because think about it, what you're trying to break are all these cycles and patterns that your family has. So it's going to help you to, even in the smallest ways, just think of every little way that you act similarly to them. that you speak like any of them, or think like any of them, or dress like any of them, or like they were saying, eat like any of them, um, all of these things, anything that you can change in a way to harness yourself more, and that can benefit you more, um, it's good to look into that and see, every little thing that you might want to change that isn't really working for you, or that you could do differently, that you could do in a way that's more unique to you. Okay. Okay, so the root chakra, I don't really feel cords in the root chakra, but it just feels kind of closed. Very closed, I would say. But that again is because of this stuff right above it in the sacral. Also keep in mind that in the sacral, we tend to hold fear. We tend to hold a lot of fear. We tend to hold survival-based fear, trauma-based fear, and obviously also, in this case, fears that have passed down from family, and also fear that can uh, pass to you from family even currently, due to you having cords to them. So that would be almost like an empathic thing, but you don't even necessarily have to be like strong empath to have that. If you have so many cords, um, to certain people, you're going to pick up on them. And your aura in general doesn't really feel like it's that unclear or anything. It's just this specific chakra, this sacral chakra, and then it's kind of, um, with all the cords, it's just kind of wrapping around a significant amount of these other chakras. So if you can start really working on clearing that and clearing, the other chakras that are affected by that, working on this thought form, there's a feeling like you're definitely going to see some significant changes, and you're going to feel better. Like you're going to notice, you're just going to notice, you're going to notice that your energy is being reconstructed, blah blah, reconstructed. I don't know what's going on with this stalking thing during this reading. Okay, so that is the end of this scan. Thank you so much for allowing me to communicate with your guides and do this chakra scan for you. And I truly hope that it benefits you. Thank you very much. Namaste.